They say you can't die from a broken mate bond, they're wrong. I learned that the moment Alpha King Damian Pierce looked me in the eyes and said, "Damian Pierce, reject you as my mate and future Luna Queen," while his mistress smiled from her place beside his throne. The Great Hall fell silent. Every pack leader in North America had gathered for what should have been a celebration. Instead, they watched me, Sarah Blackwood, nobody from the weakest pack in the territories, stand trembling before the most powerful alpha in existence. I'd felt the bond snap into place 3 days ago when I'd arrived at the capital with my pack's delegation. One look at Damian Pierce, and my world had tilted. The mate bond was supposed to be sacred. Unbreakable. The moon goddess's greatest gift. But as I stared up at Damian's cold amber eyes, I understood that gifts could be weapons too. "You can't," I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded in the vast hall. The moon goddess chose. The moon goddess made a mistake. Damian's voice rang out, clear and final. Around us, I heard gasps. Heard my alpha's sharp intake of breath. Nobody questioned the goddess's will. Nobody. I will not have a mate who brings shame to this throne. You're an Omega. Low-ranking. Weak. You have no title, no power, no legacy. The werewolf kingdoms need a queen who can stand beside their king, not cower behind him. Each word was a knife between my ribs. The mate bond, still fresh and raw, screamed in agony. My wolf whimpered, a sound of pure devastation that only I could hear. "I present to you all," Damian continued, extending his hand toward the woman standing beside his throne, "my chosen mate. Vivian Ashford, daughter of Beta Marcus Ashford. She is strong. Royal-born. Worthy of being your queen." Vivian stepped forward, her red dress flowing like blood across the marble floor. She was beautiful, everyone knew that. Powerful too, with the Beta's daughter status and her own considerable strength. When she looked at me, her smile was sharp enough to cut. "You may go, Omega," she said softly. "You're dismissed from the presence of your betters." The bond broke. I'd heard stories about rejected mates. About the pain that could last for weeks, months even. But nothing had prepared me for this. It felt like my chest was being ripped open, my heart torn out and shredded. The world spun. My legs gave out. I hit the floor hard, my vision blurring with tears and agony. Through the haze, I saw Damian turn away, already reaching for Vivian's hand. He didn't look back. Didn't even flinch at my pain. "Get up," I told myself. "Don't let them see you break." But I was breaking. The bond severing was like acid in my veins, burning through everything I was. My wolf howled inside me, except it didn't sound like my wolf anymore. The sound was different. Stronger. Deeper. And then something shifted. The pain changed. Instead of fire, I felt ice. Cold and sharp and powerful. My wolf, who'd always been quiet and docile the way Omega wolves were supposed to be, suddenly surged forward with a force that stole my breath. When I opened my eyes, the great hall looked different. Sharper. Clearer. I could see every face around me with perfect clarity, the shock on the pack leaders' faces, the satisfaction on Vivian's, the carefully blank expression on Damian's. And I could smell their lies. "What?" someone started to say. "Her eyes," another voice cut in. "Look at her eyes." I pushed myself up slowly, my body no longer screaming in agony. The bond was still broken, that pain would probably never fully heal, but something else had taken its place. Something that thrummed through my veins like electricity. "Silver," I heard someone whisper. "Her wolf's eyes are silver." The hall erupted in murmurs. I didn't understand what was happening, but I could feel my wolf now, really feel her for the first time in my life. She wasn't small or weak or submissive. She was ancient. Powerful. And absolutely furious. Damian had turned back to look at me, his expression frozen. For just a moment, I saw something flicker across his face. Not regret, no, never that. But recognition. Maybe even fear. Impossible, Beta Marcus Ashford said, stepping forward. His face had gone pale. Omegas don't have colored wolf eyes. They don't. Remove her from this hall, Damien ordered, his voice harsh. Now. Guards moved toward me, but I was already standing. My legs felt steady for the first time in my life. Strong. When I looked at Damien again, I didn't feel small anymore. I, Sarah Blackwood, accept your rejection, I said clearly. The formal words felt like glass in my throat, but I forced them out. May the moon goddess guide you to the mate you deserve. It wasn't a blessing. We both knew it. Vivian's eyes narrowed. You have 24 hours to leave the capital territory, she said, stepping forward to stand beside Damien like she already owned the title of queen. If you're found here after that, you'll be executed. Rejected mates who threaten pack hierarchy cannot be tolerated. She's hardly a threat, one of the other alphas muttered, but he didn't sound certain anymore. I met Vivian's gaze and smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. 24 hours. I understand. I turned and walked toward the great doors, my head high. My pack's alpha tried to approach me, but I shook my head. I needed to be alone. Needed to understand what was happening to me. The wolf inside me paced, restless and angry. I could feel her power now, had no idea how I'd missed it before. It was like I'd been living my whole life with a blindfold on, and someone had just ripped it away. What are you? I asked her silently. What we've always been, she answered, and her voice was nothing like the timid whisper I'd always heard before. What they tried to hide. Outside the great hall, the evening air was cool against my flushed skin. I headed toward the servants' quarters where I'd been staying, my mind racing. I needed to pack. Needed to figure out where I could go. My old pack wouldn't take me back. A rejected mate brought bad luck, bad standing. I'd be on my own. The path to the quarters wound through a garden, and I'd just reached the stone fountain at its center when I heard voices. Low and urgent. I should have kept walking, but something made me pause. Sure she didn't suspect? That was Vivian's voice. Positive. Beta Marcus. The adoption records were buried decades ago. There's no way she could have known. Her adoptive parents certainly never told her. I pressed myself against the garden wall, hidden by shadows. My heart hammered in my chest. The prophecy said the silver wolf would emerge when she bonded with her true mate, Vivian continued. That's why we had to make Damien reject her immediately. Before the bond could solidify. Before she could access her full power. The rejection should have killed her, Marcus said, and he sounded annoyed. Or at least left her too broken to be a threat. But I saw her eyes. The power is awakening anyway. Then we moved to the contingency plan, Vivian said coldly. The execution order. Once she's out of the capital territory, she'll have no protection. We'll hunt her down before she discovers the truth about her bloodline. If she learns she's the last of the lunar line. She won't. She can't. The lunar alphas are extinct. We made sure of that 23 years ago. My blood turned to ice. Lunar line? My adoption? The pieces were there, hovering just out of reach, but I couldn't quite put them together. All I knew was that these people, the ones who'd orchestrated my rejection, my humiliation, had been planning this. Had known about me. About what I was. What about Damien? Marcus asked. Does he know? He knows enough to understand that binding himself to her would have undermined everything we've built. He's ambitious, Marcus. He wants a powerful queen, yes, but more than that, he wants control. A true mate bond would have compromised that. With Vivian, he gets a partner he can manage. An alliance that strengthens his position. And if the girl survives the hunt? Vivian laughed, and the sound made my skin crawl. She's one Omega who just discovered she has a wolf with colored eyes. She has no training, no allies, no knowledge of what she really is. She'll be dead within a week. Their footsteps faded away, leaving me alone in the darkness with my racing thoughts and the silver-eyed wolf pacing inside my soul. I had 24 hours to disappear. To run. To become the prey they expected me to be. Or I could do something else entirely. My wolf growled her agreement, and for the first time since the rejection, I felt something other than pain. I felt rage. Purpose. Power. They thought I was weak. Thought I would break. Thought I would die quietly and let them bury the truth with my body. They were wrong. I didn't know what a lunar alpha was or why my bloodline mattered. I didn't understand the prophecy or this power thrumming through my veins. But I had 24 hours to get out of the capital, and after that, I would have all the time in the world to learn. To grow stronger. And then, when I was ready, I would come back. Not for Damien, he'd made his choice, and I accepted that now. But for answers. For justice. For every lie they'd told and every truth they'd buried. I turned away from the garden and headed for my quarters, my steps silent and sure. The rejected Omega was gone. In her place walked something else. Something they should have killed when they had the chance. The silver wolf was awake. And she was done running. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. 3 months in the Deadlands taught me more about survival than 23 years in a pack ever had. I crouched on the ridge above the old railroad tracks, watching the hunters circle their prey. 5 men, armed with silver bullets and wolfsbane grenades. Their target, 3 rogue children huddled in a drainage pipe, too young to properly shift, too terrified to run. The Deadlands stretched out behind me, miles of abandoned territory that no kingdom claimed, where rogues scraped out existence in the spaces between pack law and civilization. Most wolves thought rogues were mindless killers, driven mad by severing their pack bonds. 3 months ago, I would have believed that too. Now I knew better. Please, one of the children whimpered. A girl, maybe 8 years old. We didn't do anything. Doesn't matter what you did, pup, the lead hunter said, checking his weapon. He wore the insignia of the Northern Mountain Pack, one of Damien's allies. King's orders. All rogues in the Deadlands are to be eliminated. You should have stayed with your pack. They threw us out, a boy said, his voice breaking. After our parents died, the new alpha said we were dead weight. Not my problem. The hunter raised his gun. I moved. One moment I was on the ridge, the next I was between the hunters and the children. I'd learned a lot about my speed in 3 months. Learned that when I stopped holding back, I was faster than any wolf I'd encountered. Stronger too. The silver wolf inside me had been caged my whole life. Now she was free, and she was magnificent. Back away from the kids, I said quietly. The lead hunter stumbled backward, his eyes going wide. Silver wolf, he breathed. You're real. I'd become something of a legend in the Deadlands. The rogue with silver eyes who appeared out of nowhere to protect the weak. Who could tear through hunters like paper? Who healed from wounds that should have been fatal? I still didn't fully understand what I was. But I was learning. This is your only warning, I continued. Leave now, and I let you walk away. There's 5 of us and 1 of you, sweetheart, another hunter said, but his hand shook on his weapon. King Damien's offering a fortune for your head. You think we're going to walk away from that? Yes, I said simply. Because you want to live. They didn't listen. They never did. The first hunter fired, but I was already moving. The bullet passed through empty air where I'd been standing. I caught the second hunter's arm before he could aim, twisted, and heard bones snap. He screamed. I threw him into the third hunter, sending them both crashing into the railroad embankment. The fourth hunter managed to trigger a wolfsbane grenade. Smoke filled the air, poison to werewolves. It should have weakened me, burned my lungs, forced me to retreat. Instead, I felt my silver wolf surge forward with something that felt almost like joy. The wolfsbane didn't affect me. Nothing did anymore. It was like my body recognized the poison and simply neutralized it. I still didn't understand that either. 2 minutes later, all 5 hunters were unconscious or fleeing. I turned back to the children, letting my eyes return to normal. The silver freaked them out if I wasn't careful. "You're safe now," I told them. The little girl peered out from the drainage pipe. "Are you really the silver wolf? The one the rogues talk about?" "I'm just Sarah. You saved us." The boy climbed out, followed by the third child, another boy, younger, maybe 6. "The stories are true. You protect rogues." "I protect people who need protecting," I corrected. "Come on. I'll take you to the settlement." The rogue settlement was 10 miles deeper into the Deadlands, hidden in the ruins of an old industrial complex. 200 wolves called it home, all of them cast out by the pack system for various reasons. Too weak. Too rebellious. Too damaged. Too inconvenient. I'd found them a week after fleeing the capital, half dead from exhaustion and grief. They'd taken me in without questions. Given me space to heal. To train. To become something other than the broken Omega Damian Pierce had rejected. Now I helped them however I could. Sarah. Maya, one of the settlement leaders, met me at the gate. She was in her 40s, scarred and tough, rejected by her mate 15 years ago for being barren. Heard shots. "Everyone okay?" "Northern Mountain Pack hunters," I said, guiding the children through. 5 of them. "They're dealt with." Maya's expression darkened. "That's the 3rd hunting party this month. Damian's really ramping up the pressure on us." Just hearing his name sent a phantom ache through my chest. The mate bond was severed. I'd felt it break that day in the Great Hall. But sometimes, in quiet moments, I still felt echoes. Whispers of emotion that shouldn't exist anymore. I ignored them. Had been ignoring them for 3 months. "We need to strengthen the perimeter," I said instead. "Maybe set up early warning systems." "Sarah." Maya caught my arm, her voice urgent. "There's someone here to see you. An old rogue. He arrived this morning asking for the silver wolf specifically." Something in her tone made my wolf go alert. "Where?" "The main hall. He's strange. Powerful. Be careful." I found him sitting by the fire, looking like he'd stepped out of another time. His hair was white, his face lined with age, but his eyes were sharp and knowing. When he looked at me, I felt my wolf recognize something in him, something ancient. "Sarah Blackwood," he said, his voice carrying despite its softness. "Or should I say, Sarah Moonborn?" I went very still. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit, child. We have much to discuss, and time is shorter than you think." Against my better judgment, I sat. Around us, other rogues kept their distance, sensing this was important. "Private. My name is Elder Thorn," the old man continued. "I was the last royal historian before the kingdoms fell into their current corruption. I've been searching for you for 23 years. I don't." "Your eyes give you away," he interrupted gently. "Silver wolf eyes haven't been seen since the lunar bloodline was wiped out. You are the last, Sarah. The last descendant of the moon goddess's original children." The words hung in the air between us. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted to run. But a deeper part, the part connected to my silver wolf, whispered that he was telling the truth. "I'm an Omega," I said. "Low-ranking. Weak. Everyone knows that." "You were hidden as an Omega," Thorn corrected. "Your adoptive parents were good people who died protecting your secret. They suppressed your true nature with herbs and spells, kept you weak and unremarkable so you'd survive. So the ones who murdered your birth parents wouldn't find you. The garden conversation came back to me. Vivian and Beta Marcus talking about adoption records. About the lunar line being extinct. About making sure of it 23 years ago. Who were my parents? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Alpha King Nathaniel Moonborn and his mate, Luna Queen Celeste. The true rulers of the werewolf kingdoms. Thorn's eyes held old grief. They were wise and just. They maintained the ancient laws, protected all wolves, not just the strong and privileged. And they were murdered for it. By who? Robert Pierce. Damien's father. The world tilted. I gripped the arms of my chair, trying to process this. Damien's father killed mine? Robert wanted power more than honor. He orchestrated a coup, murdered your parents, and claimed the throne. You were supposed to die that night too, you were only 3 years old. But your mother's guard managed to smuggle you out. They placed you with a low-ranking couple who agreed to hide you, suppress your bloodline, raise you as their own. And Damien? I had to know. Does he know? Did he know when he rejected me? Thorn shook his head. Robert died 10 years ago, taking his secrets with him. Damien knows nothing of his father's crimes. He was raised to believe the Moonborn line died out naturally, that his family ascended legitimately. He's arrogant and flawed, but he's not aware he's wearing a stolen crown. I should have felt relief. Should have been glad that Damien hadn't rejected me knowing we were bound by blood and destiny as well as fate. But all I felt was numb. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because the past is catching up to the present. Thorn leaned forward. Word reached the Deadlands this morning. Alpha King Damien Pierce is dying. The phantom pain hit me like a punch to the chest. I gasped, doubling over as agony I shouldn't be able to feel tore through me. The mate bond was broken. This shouldn't be possible. What? I couldn't catch my breath. What's happening? The severed bond, Thorn said, his voice calm despite my distress. It's damaged but not completely destroyed. Not when the bond was between true mates of the lunar bloodline. You're feeling his pain, Sarah. He's dying, and part of you is dying with him. The pain faded slowly, leaving me shaking. Around the hall, other rogues had noticed, were watching with concern. Maya started toward me, but I waved her off. How? I managed. How is he dying? Poison. A mysterious toxin that's spreading through the royal pack. It started with his elite guards 2 weeks ago. They developed strange symptoms. Weakness. Fever. Seizures. 5 have died already. Damien was infected 3 days ago. No healer can identify the poison, let alone cure it. Another wave of pain hit me, this one accompanied by something else. A vision, sharp and clear. Damien lying in his massive bed, his skin pale and covered in sweat. His body convulsing. Vivian standing over him, her face arranged in concern, but her eyes. Her eyes were calculating. Cold. I gasped as the vision faded. Vivian, I said. She's not trying to save him. She's watching him die. Thorn finished. Yes. I suspect she and her father are behind the poisoning. With Damien gone and no heir, they can claim the throne through right of succession. Vivian would become queen. And the Pax would accept that? After 3 months of careful manipulation? Yes. They've been positioning themselves perfectly. I stood up, pacing. My wolf was agitated, pacing inside me with matching restlessness. Why tell me? What do you expect me to do? The poison is called Shadow's Kiss, Thorn said. Ancient. Deadly. Created specifically to kill lunar bloodline wolves. Your ancestors developed the only cure, the Silver Cure. A healing elixir that can only be made by one with moonborn blood. I don't know how. Your power knows. He stood, moving toward me with surprising grace for someone so old. You've been healing faster than any wolf. You're immune to wolfsbane. Your body already recognizes and neutralizes poison. It's in your blood, Sarah. The ability to heal, to cure, to restore. You are descended from the moon goddess herself. Healing is your birthright. I thought about the wolfsbane grenade that hadn't affected me. The bullet wounds that closed in hours instead of days. The way my body seemed to instinctively know how to repair itself. Even if I could make this cure, I said slowly, why would I? He rejected me. Humiliated me. Cast me out to die. And his father murdered my parents, stole my birthright, destroyed my life before it even began. Because he's your mate, Thorn said simply. And because he's innocent of his father's crimes. And because if you let him die, Vivian and Marcus will take the throne, and they will finish what was started 23 years ago. They will hunt down every rogue, every weak wolf, every threat to their power. They will turn the kingdoms into a dictatorship built on blood. That's not my problem. Isn't it? Thorn gestured around the hall. Look at these wolves. They're here because the current system failed them. Under Damien, that system is flawed. Under Vivian and Marcus, it will be genocide. Another vision hit me, stronger this time. Damien's eyes, amber and fading. His voice, weak, I'm sorry. His hand reaching for something, someone, who wasn't there. The mate bond pulsed with pain that made my knees weak. Damn it, I whispered. There's more, Thorn said quietly. If Damien dies while the mate bond is damaged but not destroyed, you will die too. The lunar bloodline bonds are different, stronger, more permanent. Breaking them requires both parties to accept the rejection fully. To mean it completely. I accepted the rejection. I said the words. But your wolf didn't accept it. Your power didn't accept it. The bond is wounded, not severed. And if he dies, it will tear you apart from the inside. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the truth in his eyes. You're saying I have to save him to save myself. I'm saying you have to choose. Thorn's expression was sad. Let him die and claim justice for your parents, revenge for your rejection. Or save him and face everything that comes after, the truth about your bloodline, your power, your destiny. Some choice, I said bitterly. Yes, Thorn agreed. But it's yours to make. No one else can make it for you. I turned away, moving to the window. Outside, the deadlands stretched into darkness. 3 months ago, I'd arrived here broken and lost. Now I was stronger, but I still didn't have answers. Didn't understand what I was or what I was supposed to become. My wolf stirred inside me, and I felt her opinion clearly. She wanted to save him. Not because she'd forgiven the rejection, but because letting him die felt wrong. Felt like becoming what they'd tried to make us, hard, bitter, broken. If I do this, I said slowly, not turning around, I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it because Vivian and Marcus need to pay for what they've done. Because the rogues here deserve better than to be hunted like animals. Because he's ours, my wolf whispered. Even broken, even rejected, the bond remains. I closed my eyes. How do I make the cure? Behind me, I heard Thorn move. I can teach you. But you must understand, Sarah, creating the silver cure will fully awaken your lunar powers. There will be no hiding what you are after that. Everyone will know. And they will come for you. Let them come, I said, and was surprised to find I meant it. I'm done hiding. Then we begin immediately, Thorn said. Damien has perhaps 3 days left. Maybe less. 3 days to save the man who destroyed me. 3 days to decide if I was going to reclaim a throne stolen from my family. 3 days to figure out if I was strong enough to face the truth about what I was, what I'd lost, and what I still might become. I turned back to Thorn, my silver wolf eyes glowing in the firelight. Teach me. He smiled, and for the first time since entering the Deadlands, I felt like I was moving towards something instead of away from it. Not revenge, not exactly. But purpose. Justice. Truth. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to rewrite the ending that had been forced on me that day in the Great Hall. The rejected Omega was gone. The silver wolf was rising. And the Alpha King who'd cast her aside was about to learn exactly what he'd thrown away. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 3. The Royal Pack's territory was exactly as I remembered, towering stone buildings, manicured grounds, and an air of superiority that made my wolf bristle. I'd left here 3 months ago as a broken Omega. I returned as something else entirely. Papers, the guard at the main gate demanded. I handed him the forged documents Thorn had prepared. Healer Morgana Gray from the Western Ridge Pack. I was summoned regarding the king's condition. The guard barely glanced at them. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. Behind him, I could see more guards, all of them appearing ill. Some were sweating despite the cool evening air. Others moved with the careful stiffness of wolves fighting pain. Shadow's kiss wasn't just killing Damien. It was spreading through his most loyal wolves. Go to the medical wing, the guard said, waving me through. Third building, east entrance. They're expecting healers. I walked through the gates, keeping my head down and my scent masked. Thorn had taught me that too, how to wrap myself in energy that made me unremarkable, forgettable. Just another face in the crowd. The Royal Pack grounds were in chaos. Wolves rushed between buildings. I heard arguing voices, saw groups clustered in worried conversation. The air tasted of fear and uncertainty. A kingdom without its king was a dangerous thing. I made my way to the medical wing, my healer's bag heavy against my shoulder. Inside were the components for the silver cure, everything except the final ingredient. My blood. The last piece had to be added at the moment of healing, Thorn had explained. The lunar bloodline's power was most potent when freely given. The medical wing was pandemonium. Healers rushed between rooms, voices calling out orders and updates. I counted at least 15 wolves being treated, all showing the same symptoms. Progressive weakness, fever spikes, seizures. Shadow's kiss was efficient, it mimicked natural illness until it was too late. You're the Western Ridge healer? A woman approached me, her face drawn with stress. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, head of the medical team. We've had 12 wolves die in the past 2 weeks. Another 20 are infected. And the king, her voice broke. He's got maybe a day left. Take me to him, I said. Dr. Chen led me through the wing, past rooms full of suffering wolves. My heart ached for them. They were loyal guards who'd done nothing wrong except serve a king who was being murdered from the inside. The acting Luna has been overseeing his care personally, Dr. Chen said as we climbed stairs toward the royal chambers. She's very devoted. I bet she was. Nothing like watching your victim die up close. The royal floor was quieter but more heavily guarded. Wolves in formal uniforms stood at attention, though several looked ill. We passed a sitting room where I heard voices, Vivian's among them. Need to prepare for succession, she was saying. If Damien dies without an heir. He's not dead yet, another voice interrupted. Male, older. We should focus on finding a cure, not picking over his bones. I am focused on the cure, Vivian said, her voice sharp. But we must be realistic. The pack needs stability. Dr. Chen hurried me past before I could hear more. We reached a set of ornate doors guarded by 2 massive wolves. They looked me over with suspicion. Another healer, Dr. Chen explained. From Western Ridge. One guard knocked, then opened the door. The scent hit me immediately, sickness, sweat, and underneath it all, that distinctive cedar and mountain rain smell that was purely Damien. The mate bond, wounded and incomplete, suddenly flared to life. Pain lanced through my chest, sharp enough to make me stumble. Are you alright? Dr. Chen caught my arm. Fine, I managed. The illness, the energy of it is strong. She nodded, accepting the explanation. He's been unconscious for 12 hours now. The seizures are getting worse. The royal chamber was enormous, but my eyes went immediately to the massive bed in the center. Damien lay there, barely recognizable. His skin was gray, covered in sweat. His breathing was shallow and labored. Even from the doorway, I could see the tremors running through his body. My wolf whined, distressed despite everything. Mate, she whispered. Dying. I pushed her down. We weren't here for him. We were here to stop Vivian. Leave us, I told Dr. Chen. I need to examine him privately. Some healing techniques require absolute quiet. She hesitated. The acting Luna left strict instructions. Would you prefer he die while we argue protocol? I met her eyes. I'm his best chance. You know that, or you wouldn't have let me in here. Dr. Chen studied me for a long moment, then nodded. 30 minutes. Then I'm checking on him. She left, closing the door behind her. I was alone with Damien Pierce for the first time since he'd rejected me. I approached the bed slowly, my healer's training warring with my personal feelings. Up close, he looked even worse. The poison was eating him alive from the inside. I could see the silver-laced wolfsbane in his veins, dark lines spreading like spider webs beneath his skin. Vivian hadn't just poisoned him. She'd been doing it slowly, carefully, for months. Long before I'd arrived at the capital. This had always been her plan. You really know how to pick them, I muttered. Damien stirred at the sound of my voice. His eyes opened, amber, but dull with fever and pain. They focused on me with difficulty. Sarah? His voice was barely a whisper. No, hallucinating. Not hallucinating, I said, keeping my tone cold. Though I'm sure you wish you were. His hand moved weakly toward me. How, why? Because apparently I'm an idiot who can't let even her worst enemy die when she has the power to prevent it. I opened my healer's bag, pulling out supplies. Don't read anything into this. I'm not here for you. Felt you, he breathed. Through bond, felt your pain, when I said, he broke off, convulsing. His back arched, and the sound of pure agony tore from his throat. I moved on instinct, my hands going to his chest. Power flowed through me, silver light that I'd learned to channel over the past 3 months. It wouldn't cure him, but it could ease the seizure, give him a few more hours. The light faded. Damien collapsed back against the pillows, gasping. Shadow's kiss, I told him. Mixed with silver and wolfsbane. You'd been poisoned for months, but the dose was increased drastically 2 weeks ago. Your guards are infected too, anyone who's been drinking from the same supply. His eyes widened slightly. Vivian. Give the man a prize. I began preparing the cure components. Your devoted acting Luna has been slowly killing you while positioning herself to take the throne. Can't be. Wake up, Damien, I snapped. She used you. Just like she used me. She found out I was your true mate and convinced you to reject me before the bond could fully form. Because a true mate bond would have let you feel the poison. Would have ruined her entire plan. Understanding and horror crossed his face. Then his eyes focused on my bag, on the components I was laying out. What are you doing? Saving your life. Lucky you. I pulled out the final vial, empty, waiting for my blood. This is the silver cure. It's going to burn like hell when it hits your system, but it will neutralize the poison and heal the damage. Silver cure. He was struggling to stay conscious. That's legend. Only the lunar bloodline. Yeah, well. I drew a silver knife, holding it over the vial. Surprise. I cut my palm, letting blood flow into the vial. The moment it hit the other components, the mixture began to glow. Silver light, pure and bright. The same light that flowed through my veins. Damien stared. You're Moonborn. Sarah Moonborn, I confirmed, mixing the cure with a glass rod. Daughter of Nathaniel and Celeste. The true heir to the throne your father murdered mine for. I met his shocked gaze. I'm the one who was supposed to be sitting on that throne. And you're the one wearing a stolen crown. I didn't know. I know you didn't. The cure was ready, glowing bright enough to light the entire room. Thorn explained everything. Your father was the monster, not you. You're just an arrogant ass who rejected his mate because she wasn't pretty enough for his throne. That wasn't, he tried to sit up, failed. I was told. Beta Marcus said you were weak, that the bond was a mistake. And you believed him without question. I moved to the bed, cure in hand. That's on you, Damien. You made that choice. I'm sorry. His voice broke. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Save it. I held the vial to his lips. Drink. All of it. And brace yourself, this is going to hurt. He drank without hesitation, trust in his eyes that I definitely hadn't earned. The moment the cure entered his system, his entire body went rigid. Silver light exploded outward, covering his skin like fire. He screamed, couldn't help it. The cure was burning out the poison, and it was agony. I held him down, my hands on his shoulders, channeling my own power to help ease the transition. Fight it, I commanded. You're an Alpha King, remember? Act like it. The light intensified, and through the mate bond one felt everything he felt. Every moment of pain. Every second of purification. It was like being burned alive and frozen solid simultaneously. But underneath the pain, I felt something else. Regret. Bone deep, soul-crushing regret that he'd rejected me. The bond wasn't severed, it was damaged but still alive, and through it I could feel his emotions like they were my own. He hadn't wanted to reject me. Had been convinced it was necessary for the good of the kingdom. Had believed Marcus and Vivian when they said I was too weak, that the bond was a cruel joke by the moon goddess. And now, feeling the truth of what I was, he understood exactly what he'd thrown away. The light finally faded. Damien collapsed back, gasping but alive. The gray tint was gone from his skin. The dark veins were receding. He was still weak, the poison had done terrible damage, but he would survive. Stay here, I told him. Rest. I need to access the royal vault. The vault? He struggled to focus. That's, only royal blood can open it. I know. I headed for the door. That's why I need to go now, before anyone realizes what I am. Sarah, wait. I didn't wait. Didn't want to hear whatever apology or explanation he was preparing. The cure was done, Damien would live, and now I had work to do. The royal vault was in the sub-basement, beneath even the dungeons. I'd learned its location from Thorn, along with the security measures protecting it. Getting past the guards would be tricky, but going somewhere, healer. I spun to find a man standing in the corridor. Tall, muscular, with silver threaded through his dark hair. His eyes were sharp and assessing. Gamma Marcus. Third in command of the royal pack. I'd seen him at the rejection ceremony, standing silently behind Damien's throne. The patient is stable, I said carefully. I was looking for supplies. The royal vault isn't a supply closet, Sarah Moonborn. I went very still. I don't know what you're talking about. Marcus smiled, and it was sad. You look just like your mother. Same eyes, same determined expression. I would know you anywhere, princess. Princess. The word hit me like a physical blow. I don't. Your father was my best friend, Marcus continued quietly. Nathaniel and I trained together, fought together, led together. When he was murdered, I couldn't save him. Couldn't save your mother. But I managed to save you. His eyes glistened. I was the guard who smuggled you out that night. I placed you with the family who raised you. I've been watching over you from a distance for 23 years. The world tilted. You knew? All this time, you knew where I was? I knew you were alive and hidden. That was enough. He stepped closer. When you appeared at the Capitol and I realized you were Damien's mate, I panicked. I convinced him to reject you quickly, before Vivian and her father could discover who you really were and kill you. You? I stared. You told him I was too weak. I told him you came from a broken pack with no resources, that accepting you would destabilize his rule. I made him believe the rejection was for the good of the kingdom. Marcus's expression was pained. I'm sorry, Sarah. I was trying to protect you. I thought if the bond was broken, you'd leave, go back to being hidden and safe. Instead I ended up in the Deadlands, hunted by assassins Vivian sent after me. I know. And I've been sabotaging those hunts every chance I get. He glanced down the corridor. We don't have much time. Vivian will discover Damien is recovering soon. When she does, she'll accelerate her plans. What plans? She's hosting a gathering of Alpha leaders tomorrow night. Officially, it's to discuss the succession and the kingdom's stability. Actually, she's planning to poison them all. Anyone who might challenge her claim to the throne will die, and she'll blame it on the same mysterious illness that's been killing the guards. My blood ran cold. How many Alphas? 20 of the most powerful. If she succeeds, she'll control half the kingdoms through fear and the other half through puppet leaders she installs. Marcus met my eyes. You need to access the royal vault. The evidence is there, financial records, assassination orders, everything we need to expose her. But only royal blood can open it. And if I open it, everyone will know what I am. Yes. Marcus's expression was steady. You'll have to choose, Sarah. Stay hidden and let Vivian win, or reveal yourself and reclaim what's yours. I thought about the rogues in the Deadlands. About the wolves suffering under corrupt pack systems. About Damien lying in that bed, poisoned by the woman he'd trusted. About my parents, murdered so someone else could wear their crown. Take me to the vault, I said. Marcus smiled. This way, my princess. The royal vault was protected by 3 sets of guards, 2 magical barriers, and a final door that required a blood seal. Marcus talked us past the guards, his rank gave him that authority. The magical barriers parted for me like I was expected. Then we stood before the final door. Solid silver, carved with the phases of the moon. In the center was a depression shaped like a handprint. Your blood will open it, Marcus said. But the moment you do, every wolf with royal sensitivity in the pack will feel it. They'll know someone of the lunar line still lives. Good, I said. Let them know. I pressed my bleeding palm against the door. Power exploded outward. Silver light so bright it was blinding. The door recognized me, recognized my blood, and swung open with a sound like a sigh of relief. Inside, the vault was enormous. Shelves lined with documents, artifacts, centuries of accumulated royal history. But my eyes went to the center of the room, where a portrait hung. My parents. Alpha King Nathaniel Moonborn stood proud and strong, his arm around a beautiful woman with silver eyes exactly like mine. They looked happy. Powerful. Right. They loved you very much, Marcus said quietly. Your father talked about you constantly. About the kind of leader you'd become, the strength he saw in you even as a toddler. Tears burned my eyes, but I blinked them back. Show me the evidence. Marcus moved to a specific shelf, pulling out ledgers and files. Vivian and Beta Ashford have been embezzling from the kingdom for 5 years. They've been skimming from the lower packs, taking bribes, selling political favors. It's all documented here. I flipped through the ledgers, rage building with each page. The rogues in the Deadlands, half of them were thrown out of their packs because they couldn't pay these inflated dues. Dues that were going straight into Vivian's pockets. And here. Marcus pulled out another file. Assassination orders. Wolves who questioned her authority, who discovered pieces of the truth. At least 40 wolves have been murdered on her orders in the past 3 years. The evidence was overwhelming. Damning. Everything we needed to destroy her. We need to get this to the Alpha gathering tomorrow night, I said. Expose her before she can kill anyone else. Agreed. But Sarah, Marcus hesitated. Once you present this evidence, you'll have to reveal who you are. There's no way around it. The Alphas will demand to know how you access the vault, how you have evidence they've never seen. Then I reveal it. I looked at my parents' portrait again. I'm done hiding. A commotion from above made us both freeze. Voices shouting. Running footsteps. She knows, Marcus said grimly. Vivian must have felt the vault opening. Good. I gathered the evidence, stuffing files into my healer's bag. Let her come. We emerged from the vault to find chaos. Guards were rushing toward the royal chambers. I could hear Vivian's voice, shrill with panic or rage. How did he recover? The poison should have killed him by now. We reached the royal floor to find Vivian standing outside Damien's chamber, surrounded by guards. She spun as we approached, her eyes widening at the sight of me. You, she breathed. You're supposed to be dead. Surprise, I said flatly. Damien appeared in the doorway behind her, weak but standing. His eyes went to me, filled with things I didn't want to examine. Sarah saved my life, he said, his voice carrying despite its weakness. She cured the poison that you've been feeding me for months, Vivian. Vivian's face went pale. That's absurd. I would never. Shadow's kiss mixed with silver and wolfsbane, I interrupted. You've been poisoning him slowly, waiting for the right moment to increase the dose. You infected his guards to make it look like a natural epidemic. And tomorrow night, you were planning to poison 20 Alpha leaders at your gathering. Lies. But her scent betrayed her fear. The evidence is in the royal vault, Marcus said, stepping forward. Every ledger, every assassination order, every stolen coin. It's all documented. The vault that only royal blood can open? Vivian's eyes narrowed. Then you must have had help from. She looked at me again, really looked, and I saw the moment she understood. No. That's impossible. The Moonborn line is extinct. Not quite, I said, and let my eyes shift to silver. The corridor erupted. Guards gasped. Vivian stumbled backward. Even Damien, who'd already seen my blood glow with lunar power, looked shocked seeing my wolf eyes fully manifested. My name is Sarah Moonborn, I said clearly. Daughter of Nathaniel and Celeste. Rightful heir to the lunar throne. I pulled the evidence from my bag, holding it up. And I have proof that Vivian Ashford and her father have been poisoning, stealing from, and murdering wolves of this kingdom for years. Arrest her, Vivian commanded the guards. She's lying, she's telling the truth. Damien's voice was steady despite his weakness. And you, Vivian, are under arrest for attempted regicide, embezzlement, and conspiracy to commit mass murder. The guards moved, but not toward me. Toward Vivian. She looked at Beta Ashford, who'd appeared from somewhere. He was already backing away, calculating escape routes. This isn't over, Vivian hissed at me. You think because you have some ancient bloodline you can just take back the throne? These packs won't follow you. They'll never accept. We'll see, I said simply. As guards dragged Vivian away, still screaming threats, I turned to find Damien watching me. The mate bond pulsed between us, damaged but alive. Sarah, he started. I held up a hand. I didn't do this for you. I did it for the innocent wolves who would have died under her rule. For the rogues who've been systematically abused and discarded. For my parents, who deserved better than to be murdered and forgotten. I understand, he said quietly. But please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I was suddenly exhausted. You made your choice. You rejected me in front of everyone because you thought I was weak and beneath you. That's who you are. The fact that you were manipulated doesn't change what you did. It wasn't. He stepped closer, and I saw pain in his eyes that had nothing to do with the poison. When I rejected you, I felt it. Felt the bond breaking, felt your pain. It nearly destroyed me. But I thought it was necessary. I thought I was protecting the kingdom. You thought wrong. Yes. He didn't argue. I did. And I will spend the rest of my life regretting it. The mate bond ached, wanting me to forgive him. Wanting me to step closer, to accept the apology in his eyes. But I wasn't that broken Omega anymore. The Alpha gathering is tomorrow night, I said instead. I suggest you be prepared. Because I'm going to stand before those Alphas and tell them exactly who I am and what I've found. And then we'll see what happens. I walked away, Marcus falling into step beside me. Behind us, I felt Damien watching. Felt his regret through the bond like it was my own. But regret didn't fix what was broken. And I wasn't sure anything could. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The Alpha gathering was scheduled for sunset. I had 12 hours to prepare for the moment that would either restore my family's legacy or get me killed. I spent the morning in the quarters Marcus had secured for me, not the servants' wing where I'd stayed before, but a suite in the royal residence. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 months ago, I'd been deemed unworthy to sleep under this roof. Now I was being given rooms that had belonged to my parents. The Alphas are arriving, Marcus reported, entering after a brief knock. 23 in total. News of Damien's recovery spread fast. Everyone wants to see if it's true. And Vivian? Locked in the detention wing, but her supporters are rallying. Beta Ashford escaped last night. We have guards searching, but... He shook his head. He knows this territory too well. I moved to the window, watching wolves stream through the gates below. Powerful Alphas, their entourages, all of them radiating authority and suspicion. They'd come expecting a transition of power. Instead, they'd get something far more complicated. They won't accept me easily, I said. No, Marcus agreed. Most of them remember your parents, loved them or hated them. Seeing their daughter return from the dead will stir up old loyalties and old grudges. You'll have to be ready for both. A knock at the door interrupted us. Marcus answered it, his body language immediately going tense. The king requests an audience, the guard said. I turned. Tell him I'm busy. Sarah. Damien's voice came from the hallway. Please. Just 5 minutes. Marcus looked at me questioningly. I wanted to refuse, didn't want to deal with whatever Damien thought he needed to say. But the mate bond pulsed insistently, and I knew he wouldn't leave until I heard him out. Let him in, I said reluctantly. Damien entered, and I was struck by how different he looked. Still weak from the poison, yes, but there was something else. The arrogance I remembered was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like humility. I'll be outside, Marcus said, closing the door. Silence stretched between us. The mate bond hummed with tension, pulling me toward him even as my pride demanded I keep my distance. You look better, I said finally, because someone had to speak. Thanks to you. He stayed near the door, respecting the space I'd put between us. Sarah, I came to tell you. I've been reviewing the evidence Marcus recovered from the vault. The ledgers, the assassination orders, all of it. Good for you. It's worse than we thought. His voice was rough. Vivian and her father weren't just embezzling. They've been systematically destroying evidence of your family for 2 decades. Birth records, property deeds, historical documents, anything that could prove the Moonborn line survived. That got my attention. Why? Because they knew someday you might return. They've been preparing for this since you were smuggled out as a child. He pulled a file from inside his jacket. Marcus found this hidden in a false compartment. It's a contract between Beta Ashford and several rival packs. They've been planning to overthrow my rule for years, and you appearing as my mate accelerated their timeline. I took the file, scanning the contents. Names I recognized, alphas of powerful packs, all signing agreements to support Vivian's claim to the throne in exchange for territory and resources. They were going to kill you at the gathering tonight, Damien continued. Use the same poison that nearly killed me. Make it look like the illness spread to the visiting alphas, and in the chaos, install Vivian as the unified leader who could restore order. My stomach turned. How many wolves would have died? Hundreds, probably. The alpha leaders, their seconds, anyone loyal to me or who might remember your parents fondly. His jaw clenched. My entire kingdom has been rotting from the inside while I was too blind to see it. You saw what you wanted to see, I said, not without sympathy. A beautiful woman who flattered your ego and a trusted beta who told you what you wanted to hear. I saw a mate I thought was beneath me and dismissed her without a second thought. He met my eyes. Sarah, I know sorry isn't enough. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that every moment since that rejection, I've felt like something vital was torn out of me. The bond was damaged, but not destroyed. I felt your pain, your loneliness, your strength growing in the Deadlands. And I felt nothing but shame. The bond pulsed with his sincerity. I could feel his regret like it was my own, and I hated it. Hated that even damaged, the mate bond made me feel his emotions. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because in a few hours, you're going to stand before those alphas and reveal who you are. And when you do, Vivian's supporters are going to challenge you. They'll call you an imposter, demand proof, possibly even call for trial by combat. He moved closer, his expression intense. I need you to know that whatever happens, I stand with you. My pack stands with you. You are the rightful heir, and I will support your claim even if it means surrendering my crown. I stared at him. You'd give up the throne? It was never mine to begin with. His voice was quiet but firm. My father murdered yours. Built his rule on blood and lies. I've been king for 10 years, Sarah, and I thought I was doing right by my people. But the truth is, I've been perpetuating a theft. Your throne. Your birthright. I won't compound my father's crimes by keeping what's yours. The mate bonds sang with his conviction, and I felt something crack in the walls I'd built around my heart. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. Keep your crown for now, I said. Tonight isn't about who sits on the throne. It's about exposing the corruption that's been festering in this kingdom for 20 years. After that. I shrugged. We'll figure out the rest. Relief crossed his face. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If Vivian's supporters want a fight, they'll get one. I pulled my silver knife from my belt, the one I'd used to create the cure. I didn't survive 3 months in the Deadlands just to back down from some political theater. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I believe that. Another knock. Marcus opened the door. It's time. The alphas are gathering in the Great Hall. My stomach tightened with nerves, but I forced them down. I'd faced worse than skeptical alphas. I'd faced rejection, exile, assassins. I'd survived it all. I could survive this too. The Great Hall was exactly as I remembered, soaring ceilings, massive chandeliers, the dais where Damien's throne sat. But now it was packed with wolves. 23 alphas and their entourages, all of them radiating power and curiosity. Conversation died as I entered. Every eye turned to me. I walked to the center of the hall, Marcus at my right side, Damien at my left. The message was clear, I had the support of the kingdom's most powerful wolves. Who is this? One of the alphas demanded. We came for a gathering about succession, not. This is Sarah Moonborn, Damien announced, his voice carrying through the hall. Daughter of Nathaniel and Celeste. The rightful heir to the lunar throne. The hall erupted. Shouts of disbelief, anger, excitement. I saw some alphas go pale, ones old enough to remember my parents. Others looked furious, probably Vivian's allies. Impossible, a female alpha called out. The Moonborn line is extinct. Everyone knows that. Everyone was told that, Marcus corrected. The truth is that Sarah was smuggled out as an infant the night her parents were murdered. She's been hidden for 23 years to protect her from those who wanted the Moonborn bloodline erased. Convenient story, another alpha said. But we have only your word. How do we know she's not an imposter? The royal vault opened for her blood, Damien said. Only those of the lunar line can access it. Blood can be faked, someone else argued. Magic can be bought. I'd expected this. Vivian's supporters were well prepared. They'd create reasonable doubt, make the other alphas question, delay until they could regroup. You want proof? I said, letting my voice ring out. Then I'll give you proof. I let my eyes shift to silver. Gasps rippled through the hall. Colored wolf eyes were rare enough, but silver was legendary. The mark of the Moonborn bloodline. Eyes can be spelled, one of Vivian's supporters said, but he sounded less certain. Can this be spelled? I let my power surge forward. Silver light exploded from my body, washing over the entire hall. Every wolf felt it, the pure, ancient energy of the lunar bloodline. The same power that had cured Damien, that had protected me from Wolfsbane, that had been sleeping inside me my whole life. The light faded. Wolves were on their knees, overwhelmed by the power they'd just experienced. Even the alphas looked shaken. The Moonborn power, an elderly alpha breathed. I saw King Nathaniel do that once, decades ago. It's real. She's real. Or she's a very talented witch, a cold voice said from the entrance. Everyone turned. Vivian stood in the doorway, flanked by 6 guards, not royal guards, I realized. Wolves wearing the insignia of foreign packs. Her supporters. How did she get out? Marcus demanded. My father has many loyal friends, Vivian said, walking into the hall like she owned it. Friends who know the truth about this kingdom. About the lies you're all being fed. Damien moved forward. Vivian Ashford, you're under arrest for. Arrest? She laughed. On what grounds? The word of an impostor and a king too weak to stop himself from being poisoned for months? You're the one who should be arrested, Damien. For incompetence if nothing else. The alphas murmured. She was playing this perfectly, making Damien look weak while sowing doubt about me. The evidence from the vault, I started. Can be faked, Vivian interrupted. Documents can be forged, records can be altered. But what can't be faked is this. She pulled out a scroll, holding it up. This is a signed decree from 23 years ago, witnessed by the High Council. It declares the Moonborn line officially extinct after the tragic deaths of Nathaniel and Celeste, who died in a rogue attack with their infant daughter. That decree is based on a lie, Marcus said. Prove it. Vivian's smile was sharp. Because I can prove my claim. I have lineage records going back 5 generations. I have the support of 6 major packs. And I have this. She gestured to the wolves flanking her. The power to back up my words. What do you have? A girl with silver eyes and convenient amnesia about her supposed childhood? I challenge the impostor, one of Vivian's supporters said, stepping forward. A massive alpha, scarred and battle-hardened. Trial by combat. Let her prove her bloodline in the old way, through strength. The hall went silent. Trial by combat was ancient law, a way to settle disputes that couldn't be resolved through evidence or testimony. If I refused, it would look like weakness. If I accepted and lost, everything would be finished. I accept, I said clearly. Damien grabbed my arm. Sarah, that's Alpha Garrett Stone. He's killed 20 wolves in challenges. You don't have to. Yes, I do. I pulled free. This is how it has to be. The hall cleared, creating a large circle. Garrett Stone stripped off his shirt, cracking his neck. He was enormous, easily twice my size, covered in scars that spoke of decades of combat experience. Nothing personal, girl, he said. But weak alphas are bad for everyone. Better to settle this now. I removed my jacket, rolling my shoulders. Agreed. We began circling each other. The alphas watched in silence, judging, calculating. This wasn't just a fight, it was a test of worthiness. Of whether I deserved to stand among them. Garrett moved first, fast for his size. I dodged, but barely. His fist grazed my ribs hard enough to crack bone. Pain flared, but I pushed through it. Can't match his strength, I thought. Have to be faster. I darted in, landing 3 quick strikes to his midsection. They barely fazed him. He caught my arm on the 4th strike, yanking me forward and slamming a knee into my stomach. I hit the floor, gasping. Stay down, Garrett advised. This doesn't have to be. I swept his legs out from under him. He crashed down, surprised. I rolled away, getting distance, and felt my wolf surge forward with fury. Let me out, she demanded. Show them what we are. I'd been holding back, trying to win in human form. Trying not to reveal the full extent of my power. But Garrett was right, half measures wouldn't work here. I shifted. My wolf form exploded outward, larger than any Omega wolf should be. Larger than most alphas, in fact. And silver. Pure, glowing silver, like moonlight made flesh. The hall erupted in gasps and shouts. This wasn't just colored eyes. This was a full lunar transformation. Something that hadn't been seen since my parents died. Garrett shifted too, his brown wolf massive and scarred. But when he looked at my silver form, I saw hesitation in his eyes. Smart wolf. We collided in the center of the circle, teeth and claws flashing. He was stronger, more experienced. But I was faster, and my wolf was ancient. She knew instincts he'd never learned, tactics bred into her bloodline over centuries. I ducked under his lunge, caught his flank with my claws, twisted away before he could retaliate. He tried to pin me, but I slipped free like water. Tried to bite, but I was already behind him. The silver light built in my chest, power wanting to be released. I could end this now. Could use my lunar abilities to overwhelm him completely. But that felt like cheating. Instead, I fought him wolf to wolf. Let him see that I wasn't just powerful because of my bloodline, I was powerful because I'd earned it. 3 months in the Deadlands, fighting for survival every day. Training my abilities in secret. Learning what I was capable of when no one was telling me I was weak. Garrett lunged again, and this time I met him head-on. We grappled, teeth seeking throats, neither giving ground. He was strong, but I was determined. Was fighting for more than just my life, I was fighting for every wolf the corrupt system had failed. For the rogues in the Deadlands. For my parents' memory. For the truth. I got my jaws around his throat, not crushing, just holding. Dominance without death. He could keep fighting, could probably break free. But it would cost him, and we both knew it. He went still. Submitted. I released him, stepping back. Shifted back to human form, breathing hard but triumphant. You're the real thing, Garrett said, also shifting back. There was respect in his eyes now. I yield. The hall erupted in response. Some cheering, some angry. The alphas were divided, just as Damien had predicted. Impressive, Vivian said, slow clapping. But a good fight doesn't prove legitimacy. Doesn't change the fact that your father helped murder my parents? I interrupted. That you've been embezzling from the kingdom for years? That you tried to poison 20 alphas tonight to seize power? Lies, Vivian hissed. You have no proof. We have the contracts, Marcus said, holding up files. The assassination orders. The financial records. Everything you tried to hide. And we have this, Damien added, gesturing to guards who entered dragging a struggling figure. Beta Ashford. We caught him trying to leave the territory, one guard reported. He had bags packed with gold and forged travel documents. Ashford's face was pale, his eyes darting around the hall like a trapped animal. Father, Vivian said, her voice tight. Tell them. Tell them it's all lies. But Ashford wasn't looking at his daughter. He was looking at me, and I saw recognition in his eyes. And fear. You shouldn't exist, he said quietly. We made sure. That night, we killed everyone. Your parents, their guards, the servants who might have talked. We burned the bodies to ash. How did you survive? The hall went silent. So you admit it, I said. You murdered King Nathaniel and Queen Celeste. On orders from King Robert Pierce, Ashford said, and his voice was bitter now. Defiant. He wanted the throne. Wanted to rule without the Moonborn line's restrictions on power. And he was right, under Pierce rule, these kingdoms became stronger, more unified. Your parents were weak. Soft. They protected rogues and low-ranking wolves instead of focusing on true strength. They protected all wolves, I countered. Because they understood that a kingdom is only as strong as its weakest member. Sentiment that would have destroyed us. Ashford looked at Damien. Your father saved this kingdom. And you should be grateful, because without him, you'd never have worn that crown. Damien's face had gone white. My father knew? Of course he knew. He planned it. Ashford's laugh was ugly. You think Robert Pierce rose to power by accident? He was ambitious, ruthless, and smart enough to see opportunity when it presented itself. The Moonborn line was beloved but weak. He was strong but common-born. So he made a deal with me, help him take the throne, and I'd become his beta. We'd rule together, remake the kingdoms in our image. And my mother? Damien's voice was barely a whisper. Did she know? Before Ashford could answer, a new voice cut through the hall. I knew. Everyone turned. A woman stood in the entrance, elegant, silver-haired, with eyes that had seen too much. Dowager Queen Helena. Damien's mother. Mother, Damien breathed. Helena walked into the hall with the same grace I remembered from the rejection ceremony. But up close, I could see the weight she carried. The guilt etched into every line of her face. I knew what Robert did, she said, her voice steady despite the enormity of the confession. I knew he murdered Nathaniel and Celeste. Knew he stole the throne. And I said nothing. The hall erupted in chaos. Damien looked like he'd been struck. Helena kept walking until she stood before me. I was young and ambitious and blinded by love, she continued. Robert convinced me it was necessary. That the Moonborn line was failing, that the kingdoms needed stronger leadership. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. Because I wanted to be queen. You let them murder my parents, I said, my voice shaking with rage. You knew there was a child who survived, and you said nothing. I didn't know you survived. Not at first. Helena's eyes glistened. I thought you died with your parents. It wasn't until 5 years later that I discovered Marcus had smuggled you out. That you were alive, hidden with a low-ranking family. And you did nothing, I repeated. I did everything I could. Helena's voice broke. I couldn't reveal you without revealing what Robert had done. It would have destroyed Damien's claim, probably gotten you killed. So I protected you in secret. Every time trackers got close, I sent them false information. Every time assassins were hired, I made sure they failed. When you appeared at the capital as Damien's mate, I panicked. I convinced Marcus to help orchestrate the rejection before Vivian could discover who you were and finish what we started. I stared at her. You're the reason Marcus told Damien to reject me. I'm the reason you're still alive, Helena corrected. If that bond had been accepted, if Damien had claimed you publicly, Vivian would have exposed you immediately. She and her father had been watching, waiting for any sign that the Moonborn line survived. The rejection kept you safe, sent you away before they could act. Safe? My voice rose. I nearly died from the bond breaking. I was hunted, exiled, forced to live in the Deadlands. And you survived, Helena said firmly. You grew stronger. You became what you needed to be to reclaim your throne. If you'd stayed here, weak and untrained, you'd be dead. I gave you the chance to become powerful enough to fight back. The logic was terrible and perfect. I hated it. Hated her for it. But I couldn't deny the truth in her words. Damien had been silent through all of this, his face a mask of shock and pain. Now he finally spoke. My entire life is a lie, he said quietly. The throne I thought I inherited legitimately was stolen. The father I loved was a murderer. The woman I rejected to protect pack tradition was the true heir all along. He looked at me, and I saw devastation in his eyes. Everything I am, everything I've done, is built on blood and lies. Yes, I said, because there was no point in softening it. Then I abdicate, Damien said clearly. Effective immediately. The throne belongs to Sarah Moonborn, rightful heir of the lunar bloodline. I will submit to whatever judgment she deems fit. The hall exploded. Alphas shouting, some in support, others in outrage. Vivian screaming that this was insanity. Helena weeping quietly. But I was focused on Damien. On the mate bond that pulsed between us, damaged, complicated, but still alive. He'd offered me everything. The throne. Justice. Vindication for my parents. All I had to do was take it. I looked at the faces around me. Saw the alphas calculating, judging. Saw Marcus watching with pride. Saw Helena's guilt and Ashford's defiance and Vivian's rage. And I realized something. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about justice, really. It was about what came next. No, I said. Everyone went silent. No? Damien repeated. I don't want your abdication. I turned to face the gathered alphas. 23 years ago, my parents were murdered and their throne was stolen. That's the truth, and we can't change it. But we can decide what we do with that truth. I took a breath, letting my silver wolf give me strength. Damien Pierce was raised on lies, but he's ruled for 10 years. Some of you may hate him, some may respect him, but he is your king. And executing him or forcing him to abdicate won't fix what's broken in these kingdoms. I looked at Vivian and Ashford. The real cancer is corruption. Wolves like these who abuse their power, steal from the weak, and murder anyone who threatens their authority. I turned back to the alphas. So here's what I propose. A co-rule. Damien keeps his throne, but I claim my birthright as well. 2 rulers, 2 bloodlines, working together to rebuild what our parents' generation destroyed. We expose the corruption, hold the guilty accountable, and create a kingdom that protects all wolves, not just the strong and privileged. Silence. Then. That's unprecedented, one alpha said. So was murdering the royal family and pretending it never happened, I countered. We're already breaking tradition. Might as well break it in a way that actually helps people. Damien stared at me. You'd share the throne? After everything I've done? I'd give you the chance to earn what you inherited through blood, I said. To prove you can be the king these wolves need, not just the one your father made you. But if you abuse that chance, if you fall back into the corruption your family built, my eyes shifted silver. I will end you. The mate bond thrummed with my sincerity. He knew I meant every word. I accept, Damien said immediately. On my life and my honor, I accept. The Alphas deliberated. It took an hour of debate, but eventually they voted. Not unanimously, several of Vivian's supporters refused. But by a clear majority, they accepted the proposal. 2 rulers. 2 bloodlines. 1 kingdom. As the Alphas dispersed and guards dragged away Vivian and Ashford to face justice, I found myself alone with Damien and Helena. "Thank you," Helena said quietly, "for showing mercy to my son." "I didn't do it for mercy," I told her. "I did it because burning everything down and starting over would hurt the wolves who've already suffered enough. But understand this, you will face consequences for your crimes. For your silence. That's not negotiable." Helena nodded. "I understand. And I'm ready." She left, and it was just Damien and me. The mate bond pulsed between us, waiting. "I don't forgive you," I said before he could speak. "Not for the rejection, not for being blind to the corruption around you, not for any of it." "I know," he said. "But I'm willing to try." The words surprised me even as I said them. "To see if we can build something better. Together." "That's more than I deserve," Damien said quietly. "Yes," I agreed. "It is." The mate bond hummed with possibility. With hope. With the chance, small but real, that something broken might eventually heal. I didn't know if it would work. Didn't know if I could ever truly trust him. But I knew I was done running. Done hiding. The silver wolf had risen. And the kingdoms would never be the same. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The first attack came at dawn. I woke to the sound of alarms, harsh, urgent bells that shattered the fragile peace we'd established after the Alpha gathering. My wolf surged forward instantly, already sensing the threat. "Sarah." Marcus burst through my door. 6 packs are advancing on the territory. Vivian's allies. They're claiming the kingdom is in chaos and they're here to restore order. I was already moving, pulling on clothes and weapons. "Where's Damien?" "Organizing the defense at the eastern perimeter." "But Sarah," Marcus grabbed my arm. "The royal pack is splitting. Half are following his orders, but the others are demanding you take sole command. They're saying the Pierce bloodline has no right to lead, not after what was revealed." Damn it. I strapped my silver knife to my belt. "How long do we have?" 20 minutes. Maybe less. I ran through the corridors, my mind racing. I'd faced hunters in the Deadlands, had fought for survival every day. But I'd never led an army. Never commanded wolves in actual warfare. I had no idea what I was doing. The eastern perimeter was chaos. Wolves in various states of readiness, some following Damien's shouted orders, others clustered in confused groups arguing about leadership. I could see the advancing enemy forces in the distance, hundreds of wolves, organized and ready for battle. We were going to be slaughtered. "Listen to me." I climbed onto a supply wagon, my voice cutting through the noise. "I don't care whose orders you follow, mine, Damien's, the moon goddess herself. Right now, there are 6 packs about to tear through our territory and kill every wolf who stands against them. We can fight each other after we survive. Agreed?" Silence. Then a voice from the crowd: "Why should we follow you? You've never led a battle." "You're right," I said bluntly. "I haven't. But I've survived 3 months in the Deadlands fighting hunters and assassins. I've earned respect from rogues who don't give it easily. And I have something none of those attacking packs have, the lunar bloodline's power running through my veins." I let my eyes shift to silver. "I can fight. I can protect. And I will die before I let them take this territory. Who's with me?" The response wasn't unanimous. But it was enough. Damien appeared at the wagon's side. He still looked weak from the poison, but his eyes were sharp. What do you need? Your best fighters on the front line, I said immediately. Archers on the wall. And someone who knows these enemy alphas, their fighting styles, their weaknesses. That would be me, Marcus said. Alpha Garrett Stone is leading the charge, the same one you beat in trial by combat. He's proud, fights aggressive. Alpha Lydia Chin commands the western flank, she's tactical, patient. And Alpha Derek Morrison is a coward who sends others to fight while he hangs back, I finished, remembering his face from the gathering. So we focus on Garrett and Lydia. Take them down, and Morrison's forces will scatter. Damien looked at me with something like admiration. Good strategy. I had good teachers. I thought of the rogues in the Deadlands, the way they fought smart because they couldn't afford to fight fair. Marcus, take 50 wolves and flank Lydia's position. Damien, you hold the center against Garrett. I'll lead from the rear. Damien suggested carefully. I'll be wherever I'm needed most, I corrected. And right now that's protecting the wolves who can't protect themselves. Where are the Omegas and children? Inner compound, Marcus said. But Sarah, you should be on the front line, showing your power. My power is best used keeping our vulnerable safe, I interrupted. The enemy wants to cause chaos, make us look weak and disorganized. If they breach our defenses and slaughter Omegas and pups, they win regardless of the battle's outcome. I won't let that happen. I jumped down from the wagon. Move out. And remember, we're not fighting for bloodlines or politics right now. We're fighting for our home. The wolves dispersed to their positions. I headed for the inner compound, where I found 50 Omegas and at least 30 children huddled in the reinforced buildings. They looked terrified. Silver Wolf, one Omega breathed. You came. Of course I came. I moved among them, checking the defenses. You're under my protection. Every single one of you. A child tugged at my sleeve. Are we going to die? I knelt down. Not today. I promise. It was a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. But they needed hope more than honesty. The first clash of battle echoed from outside. Roars, screams, the terrible sounds of wolves tearing into each other. My wolf howled with the need to join them, but I forced myself to stay. To trust that Damien and Marcus could handle the front lines. Then the western wall exploded. Wolves poured through the breach, at least 40 of them, led by a scarred alpha I didn't recognize. They'd bypassed the main battle, gone for the soft target. Just as I'd predicted. Get the children to the basement. I shouted to the Omegas. Now. I shifted as I ran, my silver wolf form erupting outward. The attacking wolves faltered when they saw me, the legendary silver wolf, glowing like moonlight made flesh. I hit the first line like an avalanche. 3 wolves went down before they could react. The scarred alpha shifted to meet me, massive and battle-hardened. The Pretender Queen, he snarled. Vivian sends her regards. We collided. He was strong, experienced, knew every dirty trick. But I was fighting for the lives behind me. For children who'd done nothing wrong except be born into this violent world. I was faster. Stronger. And absolutely furious. I caught his throat, didn't give him the mercy of a clean death. Let him feel what it was like to be weak and afraid. When he finally stopped moving, I turned to his remaining wolves. Leave now, or join him. They ran. But more were coming. I could hear them breaking through other weak points, smell the blood and smoke. The battle was turning against us. We need help, I thought desperately. Then call for it, my wolf answered. I didn't understand what she meant until I felt it, the connection to every wolf I'd helped in the Deadlands. Every rogue I'd protected, every outcast I'd defended. The bond wasn't like a pack bond, but it was real. Powerful. I threw my head back and howled. It wasn't a normal howl. It carried power, ancient energy that rippled outward like a shockwave. A call for help to wolves who had no pack, no home, no reason to fight. Except they'd see me fight for them. 10 minutes later, the rogues arrived. 200 strong, led by Maya and the other settlement leaders. They poured into the battle like a silver tide, fighting with the desperate ferocity of wolves who'd been told they were worthless their entire lives. The enemy forces broke against them. I found Damien on the front line, bleeding from a dozen wounds but still standing. Still fighting. The rogues came, he said, shocked. They're fighting for you. They're fighting for themselves, I corrected. For the chance to prove they're more than the pack system made them. Together, we pushed back against Garrett Stone's forces. The Alpha himself was massive, covered in scars, fighting with the skill of decades. But he was tired. Hurt. And facing 2 royals instead of 1. Yield. I commanded after I got my jaws around his foreleg. Never, he snarled. You're an imposter. A pretender. The Moonborn line died. The Moonborn line is standing right in front of you, I interrupted. Look at me, Garrett. Really look. You know what I am. You felt it when we fought. He stared at my silver form, and I saw the moment acceptance dawned. The prophecy, he whispered. The silver wolf who would either save or destroy the kingdoms. It's you. I choose save, I said firmly. But only if wolves like you choose to stop fighting against change and start fighting for it. Garrett's remaining forces were retreating, Lydia Chen's tactical groups dissolving as Morrison's wolves fled entirely. The battle was won. But the war wasn't over. Beta Ashford escaped during the fighting, Marcus reported, blood-soaked and exhausted. He took Vivian and fled west. Then we hunt them down, Damien said. No. I shifted back to human form, accepting the cloak someone handed me. We let them run. For now. We have wounded to tend, dead to honor, and a kingdom to rebuild. They'll regroup, Marcus warned. Come back stronger. Let them try. I looked at the battlefield, rogues and pack wolves standing together, having fought side by side. We just proved something today. That the system doesn't have to be broken. That rogues aren't mindless killers, and alphas aren't infallible gods. We proved that unity is possible. Damien moved closer. You proved it. They followed you, Sarah. Not me. I met his eyes. They followed the hope I represented. But keeping that hope alive? That's going to take both of us. The mate bond pulsed with possibility. With something that might, eventually, become trust. We spent 3 days recovering. Healing the wounded, burning the dead, reinforcing defenses. The rogues stayed, and I made it clear they were welcome. Gave them territory, resources, recognition as legitimate wolves instead of outcasts. Some of the old pack families protested. I told them they could accept the new reality or leave. Most stayed. On the 4th day, a messenger arrived. Bloodied, terrified, barely able to stand. Message from Beta Ashford, she gasped. He wants to negotiate. Says he has information you need. About your family. My blood ran cold. What information? Your brother, the messenger said. He says your brother survived the massacre. That he's been raising him to hate you, to be your enemy. And that if you don't meet with him, you'll never find the boy. The world tilted. That's impossible. My brother died. You died too, officially, Marcus said quietly. If you survived, why couldn't he? I looked at Damien. It's a trap. Obviously, he agreed. But if there's even a chance your brother is alive. I thought about the child I barely remembered. A baby, really, just starting to toddle when. No. I couldn't let myself hope. Ashford was lying, manipulating, trying to draw me out. But what if he wasn't? Where does he want to meet? I asked the messenger. The old temple. North Territory, near the Deadlands border. Tomorrow at sunset. He says come alone, or the boy dies. Don't go, Marcus said immediately. It's suicide. I have to. I was already moving, planning. If my brother is alive, I can't abandon him. Can't let Ashford turn him into a weapon against everything our parents stood for. Then I'm coming with you, Damien said. He said alone. And you think I'm going to let you walk into an obvious ambush by yourself? Damien's voice was firm. We're co-rulers now, Sarah. That means we face threats together. The mate bond hummed with his determination. With something that felt almost like partnership. Fine, I said. But we bring backup. Hidden, at a distance. And if this goes wrong? It won't, Damien interrupted. Because we're smarter than Ashford gives us credit for. The old temple was exactly what it sounded like, ancient ruins in the neutral zone between territories. Perfect place for an ambush. Perfect place to die. Damien and I approached on foot, Marcus and 50 wolves hidden in the surrounding forest. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of red and gold. Beta Ashford waited in the temple's center, Vivian beside him. And behind them. A boy. Maybe 6 years old. Dark hair, silver eyes that marked him as moonborn. My brother. Sarah, Ashford said pleasantly. So good of you to come. I couldn't look away from the child. He stared at me with confusion and something that might have been fear. What have you done to him? Raised him, Ashford said simply. After the massacre, I found him in the rubble. A baby, crying, helpless. I could have killed him, should have, to tie up loose ends. But I saw opportunity. A moonborn child, moldable, trainable. Someone I could shape into the perfect weapon against you, should you ever return. His name is Caden, Vivian added. And he knows exactly what you are. A murderer who killed his parents and tried to steal his throne. The lies were so brazen I almost laughed. You murdered our parents. You stole our throne. That's what the usurper would say, Ashford told Caden, his voice gentle. Poisonous. She'll tell you lies, try to confuse you. But you know the truth, don't you, boy? Caden nodded slowly. You're bad, he said to me, his child's voice certain. You hurt people. My heart broke. Caden, that's not true. I'm your sister. Your family. These people have been lying to you. Enough, Ashford interrupted. I didn't bring you here for a family reunion. I brought you here to make a trade. The boy's life for your abdication. Step down, leave the territory, and I'll let him live. Refuse, and I'll kill him right now. Your choice. Damien moved closer to me. Don't do it. He's lying. Am I? Ashford pulled a knife, holding it to Caden's throat. Last chance, Sarah. Your throne or your brother. I looked at Caden, saw the confusion in his eyes. Saw a child who'd been raised on lies, twisted into a weapon. Just like Damien had been, in a way. Just like I might have been if Marcus hadn't hidden me. The cycle of violence and manipulation. It never ended. Unless someone chose to end it. No trade, I said clearly. I won't give up the throne, and you won't hurt him. Ashford's eyes widened. I have a knife to his throat. And I have a kingdom full of wolves who will hunt you to the ends of the earth if you hurt him, I interrupted. You're not stupid, Ashford. You know this is your last play. Kill him, and you lose your leverage. Let him live, and you still have a bargaining chip. She's right, Father, Vivian said quietly. We need. Light exploded through the temple. Brilliant, silver, almost blinding. Every wolf froze, overwhelmed by the sheer power of it. A figure materialized in the center of the temple. Female, ageless, with eyes that held the wisdom of millennia. She wore simple robes, but there was nothing simple about her presence. Moon goddess, Ashford breathed, dropping to his knees. Thorn. The old rogue who'd found me in the Deadlands. Except now I could see through the disguise to what she, really was. You, I whispered. Me, the moon goddess agreed, her voice like music and thunder combined. I've been watching you, Sarah Moonborn. Testing you. Waiting to see if you were worthy of the power I gave your bloodline. Testing? My mind reeled. The Deadlands, the poison, all of this was a crucible, she finished. Your parents were good leaders, but they were soft. Too trusting. They died because they couldn't see betrayal until it was too late. I needed to know if you were different. If you could be what the kingdoms needed. And I managed. You passed. She moved toward me, and I felt power radiating from her like heat. You survived rejection without breaking. You grew strong without becoming cruel. You showed mercy without weakness. You united rogues and pack wolves, chose cooperation over revenge, and just now, refused to play Ashford's game even when it meant risking your brother's life. She placed her hand on my chest, over my heart. I restore to you the full power of the lunar bloodline. The strength to heal, to protect, to lead. You are the true Alpha Queen, Sarah. First of a new line, stronger than the old. Power flooded through me. Not just the silver light I'd been learning to channel, but something deeper. Ancient. I felt connections forming, to every wolf in the territory, pack-born and rogue alike. Felt their emotions, their loyalty, their hope. Felt what it meant to be truly alpha. The moon goddess turned to Damien. And you, son of thieves and murderers. What will you do now? Damien met her gaze steadily. Whatever Sarah needs me to do. I'll serve her, support her, or step aside entirely. The choice is hers. Good answer. The goddess smiled. Then she looked at Ashford and Vivian. You two have a choice as well. Death, as pack law demands for your crimes. Or mercy, which is what Sarah's heart wants to offer. They tried to kill me, I said. Murdered my parents, poisoned Damien, betrayed everything the kingdoms stand for. Pack law says. Pack law is what you say it is now, the goddess interrupted. You're the Alpha Queen. You make the laws. So choose, Sarah. Perpetuate the cycle of blood and revenge, or break it. I looked at Ashford and Vivian. Saw fear in their eyes now. Saw wolves who'd done terrible things for power and profit. Saw wolves who were exactly what the old system had created. Exile, I said finally. Permanent and absolute. You leave these territories and never return. You live with the knowledge of what you did, what you lost, what you destroyed. And if you ever come back, if you ever threaten my kingdom again, then I'll show you what the Silver Wolf is truly capable of. You're letting them go? Damien asked, shocked. I'm showing the kingdoms that we can be better than what came before. I looked at the goddess. That's what you wanted, isn't it? Proof that I wouldn't become what they were. She smiled. You're learning. Guards emerged from the forest, Marcus and the backup. They took Ashford and Vivian into custody, to be escorted to the border and expelled. Only Caden remained, staring at me with wide, confused eyes. I knelt down to his level. You've been told I'm bad. That I hurt people. And you know what? Sometimes I do. Because I'm not perfect. But I'm your sister, Caden. And I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that family isn't about blood and lies. It's about truth and love and never giving up on each other. You're really my sister, he asked in a small voice. I really am. And our parents? Did you kill them? No. I felt tears burning my eyes. Bad people killed them. The same people who took you away from me. But we're together now. And I promise, I will never let anyone hurt you again. Caden thought about this. Then, tentatively, he reached out and took my hand. The moon goddess made a sound of approval. Your brother will need time to unlearn the poison Ashford fed him. But he'll come to see the truth. They always do. She began to fade, her work here done. Wait, I called. Why help us? Why interfere at all? Because even goddesses get tired of watching their children destroy themselves, she said. I gave wolves the gift of community, of loyalty, of love. And you've spent centuries turning those gifts into weapons. Someone had to break the cycle. Might as well be you. She vanished, leaving us alone in the ruins. Damien moved to my side. What now? Now we go home, I said, lifting Caden into my arms. And we build something new. The journey back to the royal pack was silent. Caden fell asleep against my shoulder, exhausted by everything he'd experienced. I held him close, this brother I'd thought lost forever. When we reached the gates, wolves were waiting. Pack-born and rogues, standing together. Waiting for their alpha queen. I addressed them from the main courtyard, my voice carrying to every corner. Today marks a new beginning, I said. The old laws. The ones that said rogues were worthless, that bloodline determined worth, that strength mattered more than character, those laws are dead. We're creating something new. A kingdom where every wolf has value. Where rejection doesn't mean death or exile. Where mistakes can be learned from instead of repeated. Cheers erupted. Not from everyone, change always had resistors. But from enough. I am Sarah Moonborn, your alpha queen, I continued. And I make this promise, I will find every wolf this system failed. Every rogue, every exile, every wolf told they weren't good enough. And I will bring them home. More cheers. I felt the pack bonds settling into place, stronger than anything I'd imagined. Felt what it meant to truly lead. Then I turned to Damien, who stood to the side. Waiting. Damien Pierce, I said formally. You wore a stolen crown. Perpetuated your father's lies. And rejected your true mate out of pride and arrogance. He bowed his head. I did. And I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I continued. But the moon goddess gave me the power to make new laws. So here's my first one, bloodline alone doesn't make you worthy to lead. Actions do. Character does. The choice to be better than you were. I stepped closer to him, felt the mate bond humming between us. So here's what's going to happen. You don't get to be king because your father stole a throne. You don't get to rule because of birthright. If you want to stand beside me, you're going to have to earn it. Prove through actions, not words, that you can be the leader these wolves need. How? Damien asked, meeting my eyes. By serving, I said simply. By protecting the weak instead of dismissing them. By listening instead of commanding. By being humble enough to admit when you're wrong and strong enough to make it right. And if I do all that? Then maybe, I'll accept the mate bond again. On my terms. As equals, not as king and subject, but as partners building something new. Hope flared in his eyes. I'll do it. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I'll prove myself worthy. Good. I turned back to the crowd. We have work to do. Territories to rebuild, rogues to find, a kingdom to remake. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. But it will be worth it. As the crowd dispersed, Marcus approached with reports. The wounded were healing. The dead had been honored. And word was already spreading, the silver wolf had risen. The alpha queen had returned. That night, I stood in my parents' old quarters, my quarters now. Caden was asleep in the next room, Marcus standing guard. Through the window, I could see the kingdom stretching into darkness. My kingdom now. My responsibility. Scared? Damien's voice came from the doorway. Terrified, I admitted. I have no idea what I'm doing. That makes two of us. He stayed in the doorway, respecting the boundaries I'd set. But if it helps, I think you're going to be an extraordinary queen. We'll see. I looked at him, at this man who'd rejected me and nearly destroyed me. Who was now offering to spend his life earning back what he'd thrown away. The mate bond pulsed with possibility. With hope. With the chance that something broken might, with time and effort, be rebuilt into something stronger. Get some rest, I told him. Tomorrow we start building a new kingdom. Together. He smiled, genuine, without arrogance. Together. After he left, I stood alone in the darkness, feeling the weight of the crown I'd inherited and earned. The rejected Omega was gone. The silver wolf had risen. And the Alpha Queen would change everything. The story was just beginning. But for the first time in my life, I knew exactly who I was. And I was enough. 3 months later. I found my stride as queen faster than I'd expected. The rogues integrated into pack life with surprising ease. They'd always had community, they'd just been denied recognition. Now, with official status and territory, they thrived. Damien kept his promise. He served rather than commanded, protected rather than dismissed, listened rather than assumed. Slowly, painfully slowly, he was earning back trust. From the pack. From me. The mate bond grew stronger day by day. Not complete, not yet. But healing. We found 14 more wolves from the Moonborn line, distant cousins, thought dead or lost. Built a council that represented every kind of wolf, pack-born, rogues, high-ranking, low-ranking. True representation, not just the illusion of it. And Caden. Caden was learning. Learning that the people who'd raised him had lied. Learning what family really meant. It would take time. But we had time now. One evening, Damien found me on the balcony overlooking the kingdom. There's a situation in the eastern packs, he said. 3 Omegas rejected their mates and are being threatened with execution. They're asking for sanctuary. Grant it, I said immediately. And send word, any wolf rejected or threatened under the old laws can come here. We'll protect them. Already done. He moved to stand beside me. You know, when I first saw you at that delegation ceremony, I felt the mate bond snap into place and I was terrified. I looked at him. Why? Because I knew, he said quietly. Knew on some level that you were exactly what I needed and everything I wasn't ready for. So I rejected you before you could reject me. Before you could see how unworthy I really was. Damien. Let me finish. He turned to face me fully. I was a coward. I hurt you because I was afraid of being vulnerable. Afraid of being seen as weak for having an Omega mate. And in doing so, I became exactly what I feared, weak, pathetic, unworthy. The mate bond pulsed with his sincerity. His regret. I know I don't deserve a second chance, he continued. I know I may spend the rest of my life trying to earn back what I destroyed. But Sarah. I love you. Not the way I thought I understood love before, as possession or pride. But real love. The kind that makes me want to be better. The kind that sees you as you truly are and is humbled by it. My heart clenched. The mate bond was singing now, begging me to accept what he was offering. I'm not ready, I said honestly. Not yet. You've proven a lot, Damien. But the rejection, feeling that bond break, feeling that pain, it damaged something in me that hasn't fully healed. I understand, he said. I'll wait. However long it takes. But, I continued, and saw hope flare in his eyes. Ask me again in 6 months. And we'll see. His smile was brilliant. Genuine. 6 months. I can work with that. He left me alone with my thoughts, with the kingdom stretched out below. My kingdom. Our kingdom. The silver wolf who would save or destroy the kingdoms, the prophecy had said. I chose save. And I was just getting started. Somewhere out there, more wolves needed help. More wrongs needed righting. More stories needed rewriting. The Alpha Queen was ready. The mate bond hummed with promise. And the future, broken, complicated, beautiful, waited to be built. The end. But really, just the beginning. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.